Welcome to Dangerville. The Mutos, the original monster foes in the MonsterVerse, and the one species who is confirmed to be a Godzilla hunter. Stay tuned for later in the video when we show footage of a special exploration into the nest of a breeding pair of Muto. You won't want to miss it. First appearing in Godzilla 2014, and then having follow-up appearances in Godzilla Aftershock and Godzilla King of the Monsters. These parasitic kaiju evolved to live in a world full of titans. During the golden years of Titan life, the planet was abundant with all forms of giant, radiation-sucking creatures. For hundreds of millions of years, the Muto species devastated the planet numerous times. In the lore, many of the planet's extinction level events are believed to have the Mutos to blame. There was likely a time where hundreds of these creatures roamed the Earth in search of their next meal, but over the millennia, their numbers began to dwindle. Up until a few thousand years ago, there were still at least a dozen or so of these beasts still in existence. Some of them even paid our ancient South American friends a visit, and in the lore, were the cause of the collapse of those ancient civilizations. But now, the only known Muto still alive is the Muto Queen seen at the end of King of the Monsters. If you want a video on the whereabouts of the Queen Muto, make sure to like this video and let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's go see how our drone is doing as it ventures into the home of the Mutos, deep within the crust of the Earth. In the caverns between the hollow Earth and the surface of the planet, the human eye is incapable of seeing through the vast darkness of this world. Here, let's fix that. Much better. A male Muto proudly stands. His body expressions allude to him protecting something. He's not very happy we're here. And there she is, a female Muto. But something seems wrong. It appears like the female is injured. Perhaps she got harmed in a battle, or maybe she's slowly succumbing to the lack of food sources around. Regardless, I don't think the male Muto is very happy about our drone getting close to his lady. Time to move on. Before we uncover the reason for the downfall of the Muto species, let's first go to their origins to better understand these animals. The natural world can shock you with how, over time, environments and life adapt and change in order to survive and flourish. When the first Titans took steps on the planet, it was only a matter of time till a species evolved that would take advantage of this abundant source of food. The Mutos are an invasive species, which means they can devastate and completely change the environment around them to be better suited for their own well-being. But this always comes with a cost. The surrounding life usually is dramatically affected in negative ways, which can lead to eventual extinction of certain species unable to cope with the changes in their environment. Little did they know that their own actions would be foreshadowing their own demise. The sheer devastation the Muto species can create on Earth has ancient Titan theorists believing that perhaps they were not of this planet in the first place. Possibly coming to Earth on an asteroid, or maybe aliens had brought them down to terraform the planet, to one day return to see if their weapons had succeeded in eliminating the atomic reptiles keeping them from invading. Regardless of their true origin, a Muto Prime is needed in order for this species to reproduce, alluding that a Prime was the very first Muto to take breaths on the planet Earth. And once this creature managed to infect its first victim, the rest became history. The first Muto Prime could be killed, but once the Muto offspring burst out from their cocoons that were planted in the bodies of their hosts, it was only a matter of time before they found one another, produced thousands of eggs, and began the process of one of them achieving the status of Muto Prime yet again. And then the cycle could repeat. The more victims the Prime had before it was killed, the more potential the population had to grow. With being so well suited for domination, how is it that this species never completely took over the planet? There are major factors that led to the downfall of the Muto, and it all stems from the species' complex nature. The Mutos can create thousands of offspring at a time, but only once the Muto Prime had first infected a host and created both a male and female, that would then go on to interact and reproduce through more natural ways. If there was ever a hiccup in this complex cycle, like a giant nuclear lizard, the entire line of Muto would be in danger. Back in ancient Titan times, this is how the Godzilla were able to keep the Mutos from ever consuming the entire world. They would hunt any Muto down that was starting to become too strong and close to achieving Prime status. For the most part, it was an even fight and balance was achieved, as the Godzilla only had to worry about a Muto Prime being strong enough to take them on one-on-one. The Prime would lay dormant, only appearing when it had to in order to save the species from dying out when their numbers began to dwindle. Think of it as a precautionary thing. This is why in Godzilla Aftershock, the Muto Prime suddenly appears from nowhere right after the male and female Mutos, along with their nest, were destroyed, and needed to infect Godzilla like it had Dagon in the past, or else the entire species might be headed for extinction. But why was the Muto Prime, the male and the female, placed in such dire circumstances in the first place? The answer is simpler than you may think. They ran out of food. As the Titan numbers began to dwindle, with many of them returning to the Hollow Earth, the Mutos stuck on the surface and in the caverns in between had little prey or energy to consume. The most common reason for extinction over the existence of life on Earth happens when the environment that the species lives in can no longer sustain it. The Megalodon, direwolf, saber-toothed tiger, and so many more ancient super predators had their fates sealed when their food sources no longer could sustain them. Dr. Emma Russell states in Aftershock that the Muto species would turn on themselves once they ran out of energy sources, which even furthers the devastation of this species. This is likely what happened to the handful of Mutos who devastated South America in recent times in the lore. Over time, the stronger Mutos would kill out their weaker family members, and then the remaining Gojira and other kaiju would hunt down these powerful individuals before they could become a Muto Prime and restart the reproductive process. This is why Dagon and Godzilla actively pursued fights with the Muto Prime, even though they had to have known that if they failed, it would be their lives and the balance of the planet on the line. But if they succeeded, the Muto species would be even closer to extinction, a worthy sacrifice to save the planet in their minds. So let's break down what we've learned so far about why the Mutos died out. They had a delicate form of reproduction where one hiccup could put the entire species on the line. They ran out of Titan hosts for the Muto Prime to infect and continue the family line. Natural radiation or sources of energy, prey, began to dwindle on the planet. Less Titans to eat, less natural radiation from the Earth, what are you gonna do? They killed each other off when the environment could no longer sustain them all. Yep, that usually doesn't help. And lastly, all of the other Titans wanted to see them go extinct. They've been a danger for just too long. Extinction has been a natural occurrence since the dawn of time on Earth, and while humanity has sadly hastened this for some, most life on the planet will eventually go extinct. It's just the way things are. The MonsterVerse, even though it's fake, is based on real-life biology and roughly about how wildlife works in the real world. The Titans are mostly just animals, and this means they are susceptible to the same dangers. The Mutos had their run, but it was only a matter of time before their reign on Earth would be over. So that's what happened to the Mutos. Do you want to hear about what happened to the other Titan species in the MonsterVerse? What about the Muto Queen? Let us know. If you like the animation we used in this video and want to see more like it with the drone and all that, help share this video around and leave a like if you think we earned it. We had a lot of fun putting this one together for you guys and want to make a lot more of them. I hope you all enjoyed it. This has been your host Jacob, and I will see you in the next one.